Hello everyone and welcome back to our Drarry Advent Calendar with the story A Husband for Christmas by Jolly Love. Today we're already at day 6. Little Saint Nick.
Well, that was a disaster,
Draco mumbled when he opened the door to the manor. He hadn't really had big expectations. You couldn't have those when you were looking for someone with a matchmaker, but for Merlin's sake, this man had been a total idiot. Not only had he appeared almost half an hour late, he had then also decided to tell him that he was only meeting him because his mother made him do so. That was their first interaction. How was that the first thing he had heard from this man's mouth? He hadn't even excused himself for being late, no. He just started a rant that lasted through half of their dinner, only for him to run off before the bill arrived. If that was the first one, at least everybody else was an improvement. As he entered the living room, he saw Harry entering from the other side alone, looking around as he was searching for something. Draco stopped and frowned at Harry, who carefully checked the room only to turn back to the huge closet. He snuck closer and opened it so quickly that Draco heard Scorpius squeal loudly by surprise. Draco bit his lower lip so he wouldn't start laughing from watching the scene.
"No!"
Scorpius called out when Harry laughed.
"I don't understand how you can do that. It's my house, yet you keep finding me. How do you do that?"
"I'm an amazing caregiver,"
Harry called out and made what Draco assumed was a superhero pose. Scorpius laughed and shook his head while Harry helped him out of the closet.
"In all honesty, as a former aura, I know where people go to hide. If I were to hide from you, you'd never find me."
"That's what you think."
Scorpius grinned. He seemed to suddenly find Draco standing in the room.
"Father, you're home."
Draco sighed.
"I am."
Harry turned around and smiled.
"Lord Malfoy, with this I will."
"Why are you so formal towards father?"
Scorpius asked and stepped in front of Harry. Draco had always found Scorpius' lack of behavior funny, but not now. All he wanted now was a quiet evening to get over his failure of a date. Nevertheless, he did want to know more about Harry's manners, and having seen him being around Scorpius, who seemed to be very close to Harry, he was a little confused by the formality Potter was showing him. Smiling, Harry looked at Scorpius.
"Well, I've found that being formal and showing manners usually shows off the respect I have for people."
"So you don't respect me?"
Scorpius asked, poking an eyebrow. Harry stopped and frowned at Draco's son before inclining his head.
"With all due respect, Herr Malfoy, I've not intended on showing you less manners than I am currently showing your father, Lord Malfoy. If you would please accept my deepest apology and—"
Scorpius started laughing and fell on the floor, holding his stomach. Harry meanwhile was having a hard time not laughing as well, seeing as though the pureblood rules did not allow for laughter, giggling or smirking in the presence of a higher status, unless they were doing any of these as well.
"Is that stupid? I want my Harry Potter back,"
Scorpius finally said when he lay on the floor, done from all his laughter. Finally smirking, Harry held out a hand and nodded.
"Fine."
He then turned to Draco.
"As I was going to say, if you have any other upcoming meetings, Lord Malfoy, please do not hesitate to contact me. I will be here looking after your son."
When Harry walked by Draco, he turned as well.
"Thank you, Lord Potter."
Both men turned to each other again, and with a smile, Harry left. Scorpius walked towards Draco and frowned.
"So, how was your date?"
"Great."
Draco smiled, realizing quickly that he didn't want to scare his son.
"I'll have some more dates with him, and we'll see if it works out."
"You do know that working out in this case means marrying him, right?"
Scorpius asked and frowned. Nodding, Draco hugged his son, trying his hardest to keep the happy facade up.
"Of course, son. Once it gets more serious, I will also introduce him to you."
Scorpius didn't say anything. Simply looked at him as if he could read every thought. Astoria had been able to do that, and he didn't doubt that Scorpius inherited this talent from her. However, he seemed to keep the peace, as he simply nodded and turned towards the stairs.
Good night, Father. I'm glad your date went well.
Draco sighed, falling onto the sofa, and rubbed his forehead. An elf appeared, wordlessly leaving some whiskey, and Draco downed it quickly. Was he really doing all that he could for his family? Was his decision fair towards Scorpius? Yes, he needed someone else in his life, someone who held his son as high as he did, but who would even want that? He knew that most wizards just thought of Draco as a trophy. His son was in the way, no matter who you asked. They were probably all happy that Scorpius was going to Hogwarts next year. Getting up, Draco walked through the hallways to the West Manor. It wasn't fair to Scorpius just to marry someone who didn't want him. Then again, if Draco didn't marry, they could lose everything, so he needed to marry. As he approached one specific portrait, he found Astoria missing from it. He reached out and slowly let his fingers run over the golden ornaments, wondering if she would come see him, if he would call out to her. "Astoria," he whispered softly. "Astoria, I don't know what to do without you." The portrait remained empty. To be continued.